All right, let's get this roof right. So I'm only worried about this here and the window channel getting correct and the outside edge getting correct. I'm not worried about what it does here. Like I said in the previous video, when we cut this, we tip this, these two lines no longer match. So we'll have to cut a section out of here, create a new section, put it in so that curve is correct. So right now, all I'm worried about is getting this slightly tipped forward. Again, we only cut an inch out. I'm really hoping that it's not gonna take too much forward because I like to cut it here. This can be dollied and smoothed back out. And the shape is actually pretty nice. If we have to go a lot here at the top, like I said, I try to do a little bit everywhere so nothing is too drastic in one spot. But if there's not enough movement here, there's a structure underneath this. We'll have to cut the whole structure out. That's a real pain in the butt, but it's sucks and it's awesome at the same time because that structure goes all the way to back here. So this whole piece is covered with a structural insert. So if we cut that insert out, I can smooth all these dents out. I can move all this in here. I can actually get up in there. So I don't know what we're going to do yet. I don't know which way Robert wants to go with his car. So that's up to him. Everything is all, time. We got to do what we can so it works for everybody. So I'm going to try to cut just the skin. There's a C channel here that connects that inner structure to the skin. So I like to cut through skins with my little air saw. Then I like to cut through the channels with my Sawzall. So I'll probably try to walk it all the way across with my air saw and not hit that inner structure, which is a little bit of a battle. Then I'll take my big saw and just cut through the C channel on the outside. So it's so funny. I've done so many of these cars and the dents are all in the same place. Isn't that crazy? Now, of course, all of this was leaded and I think torch welded in the factory. So once you get the lead out of here, this is a really nasty A-pillar underneath all that bodywork. But then there's always a couple dents right here. I guess, how this car was raked, stock, pretty easy to get dents here. Then the doors are always bent up. You gotta spend a whole day fixing the doors before you can even chop the car. So this is my train of thought. So it's pretty simple. I'm gonna do the other side. Really, like most chops, I'm cutting in a general location, but the exact measurement is arbitrary. It doesn't really matter on the exact measurement other than both sides are even. So I always mark on the skin what I did. So I'm 13 inches and a quarter in. So all I have to do is just match the other side, 13 and a quarter inch in, which I marked it there. Then on my magnetic ruler, I marked at where it was, top to bottom, when it's flat against the character line there. And if both my cuts are really close to being the same, that's all that matters. So there's my crosshair of where I need to go. And I also tried to come as level with this channel as I could. So then I just need to mark that, level with the channel. And now I'll get my area cut over here correct. So roughly there. And I just want to make one more measurement from the cut to my cut line on the other side. So I want to make sure both sides are even. Even is more important than where and the number. Line it up to where I eyeballed it to. Now I might have to cut it further. I might have to cut it almost to the middle to get it to tip. But when it starts tipping, I mean this is all going to flex a little bit. So it's kind of a make an action, react to what's happening. I might have to cut it more than the last one. I might have to cut it less than the last one because we're not really changing everything too much, thankfully. So once I get this cut, I can tip it and I can put a straight edge here and get them both to tip even and be straight as it could be, considering the 34. There's not very many straight edges on the entire car, but we'll get it pretty close to straight here. And we'll see how much we have to cut into this. And I'm thinking, cutting into these edges here, I don't think it's going to be more than a cut line and rewelding a cut line. That's what it kind of looks like. You know, you cut it here with a right angle carbide, and that leaves like an 1/8 of an inch gap-ish. You can close that up 1/8 of an inch, open it up a little bit here, and it really is just welding gaps more than adding or taking away material. So that's what it's look like it's going to happen. Let's see what happens.
That we've all had enough, keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan, they know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan, they know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation.
All right, compressor's off. Compressor's off. I said a whole bunch of stuff, but then I realized you guys probably can't hear me. That pop gave me just enough here. I like what I see with my eyeball. Let me grab my ruler. Awesome, it's capable now. I have to take a little bit out on the back. Here. So that's not a big deal. This rake is good. This rake is not good, obviously. So I will have to cut it here. And I'll have to cut it here. And I am very certain just the gap that the cut is going to create is going to be enough movement. So just the cut line from that carbon blade on my right angle grinder. I'll open it up just a tad, close it in just a tad. It'll close it in that cut line width, and I'll be right there. I love it when it's a cut line width away. Yeah, a little there. So it comes down in the front, a little back there. So this gap closes. So that tilt just made it where I need to cut a little bit off the back. No big deal. So, I'll start with this. I'll cut a little bit off the bottom here to get us down in the front. All right, I'm going to show you as I go. So I achieved the right amount of lean that I need by taking a little bit out here. I just marked that. I need to grind that to get a little better clearance. But as one of my predecessors would say, I cut out a red cunt hair width of steel there to get that to fit right. And here's the gap that we're left with. Here's the little difference. And here's the gap we're left here on the top. So cutting this out and putting a strip of steel here, it's gonna be pretty simple. So for me, I think this is the simple way to cut this car up. So not too much to correct there, so that's nice. Still more cuts to go. All right, so here is where a bunch of little steps makes a big difference. This outside pillar really isn't held on to the body very well, you know, from stock. We have 2 spot welds here. These were old and rusty enough. I just put my wedge in there and popped it off on both sides. Now this whole inner structure is only being held by the little bit in the front here. That's the only thing holding this whole thing together, which is good for me now because I want to cut in this groove here, and I'm going to come to the outside radius. I'm not going to cut any farther than that. This is going to allow this pillar to move just a little bit. If I wanted to move it a lot, I'd have to cut a lot more. I only want to move it a little bit, so technically I should only need to cut it a little bit. And you can see in the original chop, this is the same way they did it. I'll get an up close view, but you can see that they cut the A-pillar at an angle exactly like what I'm getting ready to do. Yeah, so not much difference of what I'm doing now and what they did back then, other than we got better welders than what they used to have. So, you know, same cuts. It's interesting to see where I planned to cut it before I even looked at all these little details. You know, they already cut it there originally when they were making these changes. So we'll make this quick little cut. This will be done because I ground these up enough to get that tip that I wanted. And I cut this out a little bit more to where the top, the cut fits more flush. So it'll just all be welded, no sheet metal work needed. And yeah, it's the little stuff that makes this easier. All right, so I've done this on a bunch of different days, and I haven't edited any of this footage yet, so I apologize if this bounced around a little bit because I don't know what I said or what I recorded, because there's a lot of monotonous work to do on a chop like this. So, you know, I can't record the entire thing, but I'm trying to show you guys all the details. So I cut the lower part of the A-pillars on both sides when I had the whole thing off on the bench. I widened them just a hair. As you can still see my cut mark. I mean, we're talking about maybe a penny's width of opening, so not much. That happened to line these up on both sides, so I just said, let's just go for it, and didn't cut the top. So my glasses are fogging up because it's hot in here. It just kind of, you just got to react to what's going on in front of you. There's no set, rules to a chop really. So you just got to react to how the steel's reacting. So that looked good. My angle looked good. These are looking pretty straight, which I'll show you with my straight edge up close. So you can see what that looks like. This is the better side, the driver's side is. The passenger side had a pretty big dip after all the lead got melted out. So we're just kind of working around that. And if the owner's okay with it, we'll just re-lead these exactly like how they were originally. So I'd like to fix these A-pillars up a little bit by just letting them. But right now, they're not that far off, especially the driver's side. It's pretty dang straight. Passenger side has a little dip right there, but that's where the lead goes. I think it turns out pretty good. That leaves us with our roof not that far off here. So this little strip here is not going to be a problem. That should be pretty simple. B-pillars in a great spot. And we have the back in a great spot. I'll show you everything up close. Okay, we'll start with our little bit more rough side where the recess and everything was pretty aggressive on where the lead is. This is looking pretty good, knowing that the 34 tapers, so that looks good there. You can see it from this side. This is all pretty straight, except for it tapers at the top right there. And that leaves us with this gap, which isn't too bad. We got that dent we already talked about. Here's our gap that's left. So to fix that arch, I mean, we're talking about minimal stuff, guys. I'm pretty happy with how this one's reacting, but again, it was chopped pretty aggressive before it came here. Now we'll look at the side here, and just like the other side, it's pretty straight, except for the 34 does taper at the top. It's pretty straight all the way around. So I'm pretty happy with how that's turning out. Our tip isn't that aggressive either. I mean, everything it just did what it had to do to make this fit, make that fit. And we can see our top here, not too crazy. So, you know, the last one I did was pretty aggressive. We went from stock all the way to a 6.5. So that made it pretty aggressive difference, but this is pretty subtle differences. And that is not that much work across the cowl. A small strip, you know, I'd probably like to go maybe 1.5 inches. That's what I'd consider small, just to get me out here, something I could actually shape to the cowl. That should clean it up pretty nicely and give us a nice subtle chop. Then up here, you might not have seen it yet. We got a fill panel. That looks pretty nice. Just tiny little bit of pressure there and it lays pretty flat. So I would say, you know, forming, not tension. So that's gonna be okay. And that looks pretty good all the way around, really. Barely any push to get it to line up. So that's gonna be nice. Then here's what the back looks like. It's still clipped where I scribed the difference of 1 inch off. And gosh, I love the low windows on a 34. It just looks hot to me. Have a little fitment issue here. I don't know if I brought that up in a different video or not, but they did cut this up and torch this like that. So probably just some issues with that steel there, but we'll fix it because we have both crowns, one there and one there. So that's easy fix. Just got a little trimming and fitting to do. The bracket is clipped, but the skin moves around quite a bit. So that should be an easy fix. So far, I think this is going pretty good. Here's a little bit of a distance look of it. Gotta step back and enjoy what's going on a little bit. I think it's looking good. It's a very attractive height, I think. I like them chopped 3 inches. I like them chopped 6 inches. I like them stock. This 34 just looks good all around. And just in case if you're wondering, I weld this up, a lot of different styles. Torch weld in some nice areas, MIG weld in some areas, and TIG weld in some areas. And when I TIG, or when I MIG, I use this H&S Auto Shot. It actually has a different liner in it, so it allows me to weld with silicon bronze. What I like about that is it's close to being TIG, but not quite TIG, not as soft. So, but when I get this all welded in here and here, I can hammer and dolly the silicon bronze after the fact. So that's nice. H&S Auto Shot guys, looking at their welders, I can't thank them enough for how nice a machine this is. So we got our A-pillars welded, not completely all the way around, but enough through the skin that it's not gonna go anywhere. And all I did was just DA it a little bit and grind it down, looking for, you know, crummy welds. You weld a whole car up, guys. You guys know not every single weld's right on the money or right, you know, welded perfect. So, you know, grind it down, make sure there's no low spots or pinholes, stuff like that. So that's all I've done so far. And it's nice and structural, but our cowl and our roof's technically not welded on right now. So I think that's gonna be the next video. I'm gonna get this cowl set in stone. Then I'm gonna get these here set in stone and just work my way back. Of course, once I get the cowl set, I'm going to cut and weld some of that rear portion on too, just so it doesn't move around on me. But everything is looking pretty good. I apologize if this video is a little random or a little short. It's cut up in a couple different days while I had a chance to come out here and work on it. So I don't really know what's on footage or where we stopped the last episode in. I'll have to check that out when I go to edit it. But keep up to date with this, guys. Let me know what you think. I do it a very simple way without $20,000 worth of big machinery. I got an English wheel and I have a planishing hammer that I will end up using quite a bit once we get into some of the back portion back here. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, guys. Like and subscribe if you can. See you next time. Yeah. Do you think it needs to be choked? I don't know. Yeah, go ahead. I'll choke it.